Alhamdulillah. All right. So today is basically an introduction that we want to share with you all. An introduction to visual communication through freehand or VCTF. So hopefully today everyone is here with a growth mindset because the purpose for today is more of sharing, more of sharing. So we want to make sure that this 1 hour or so will be productive and will be beneficial for you. So basically, VCTF or visual communication through freehand, the training that we are doing is about 12 hours. It's a 2-day program, all right, with 4 modules. It includes fundamental, visualize, create, and simplify. Just to give you an overview of what VCTF can do and how VCTF can enhance, your communication and increase productivity. All right. So that is the purpose of today. So I would encourage for you guys to take notes. Okay. So this is the master plan regarding effective communication through visual. We have 3 phases, right? So each phase, there's a 2-day training program. Okay. So the first part that we want to do first is the freehand part. All right. And then from freehand, we'll go to freehand with digital, and eventually we'll go to the digital platform. So when we are talking about freehand, it's more on instant communication. So this is very important. I need everyone here to understand. We are not focusing on comprehensive communication, but we are focusing more on instant communication. Yeah. All right. So a little bit about me. All right. So basically, education-wise, I'm an electrical engineer. All right. But I've not been practicing for so long. I'm more into training nowadays. But most of the time, we are doing this training together with Dr. Ruzaimi. Yeah. So the most important person today is actually the founder of VCTF. Yeah? My good friend, Dr. Ruzaimi. He's actually my schoolmate. So I just want to share a bit of history so that you understand where I'm coming from and why I'm doing the sharing today. Okay. So Dr. Ruzaimi and myself, we went to the same school, but he was my senior, at least 1 year senior. And I never saw him for 26 years. So I met up with him in 2018. At that point in time, I was already doing trainings. I was going to universities. I did some corporate trainings and whatnot. At that point in time, when I was doing training, it's more of just doing slide presentation, having activities to get the participants to participate and understand. But I've never used freehand, using a whiteboard to draw or anything like that. I've never used that. So when I sat down with him, and he showed me VCTF, it opened my mind, it blew my mind. So since then, I've been following him, from 2018, I've attended his training. So I became a trainer. And for me, it's so effective. So I've adopted this in my organization. So every time when we go for meetings, when we do trainings, before I go there, the first thing that I ask them, do you have a whiteboard? If not, at least a piece of paper. Because the ability to draw, to put your ideas on paper is so powerful. Yeah, it's so powerful. So I am so blessed that I got to meet Dr. Ruzaimi again, and then from there, the rest is history. Today I'm here with you sharing. Yeah, Alhamdulillah, with Dr. Ruzaimi, he has trained more than 8,000 people all over Malaysia. He has a PhD in visual impact assessment. He has published a lot of books, and some of his books are available internationally. Even one book is translated into Japanese. So he knows this subject matter. He is truly an expert in this subject matter, and he's also the founder of drawzenia.com. So Alhamdulillah, throughout the years, since 2015, we have been conducting this training. We have conducted trainings for every level of society, even royalty. Alhamdulillah, Allah given us the opportunity to share with various organizations, including corporates, governments, agencies, universities, and whatnot. So just to share, one of our biggest clients was Ministry of Finance Malaysia. We've trained more than 200 staff of Ministry of Finance. So they are now adopting VCTF in their daily communications and operations. All right. So these are some more examples of where we've done our programs. Yeah. So Dr. Uzaimi has also been featured in newspapers. He's been on the TV, promoting this VCTF all over Malaysia. Okay, the focus domain for VCTF, all right, is basically on communication. Okay? So if you look on the slides, right, every day we go through this process in anything we do in life. We think, we communicate, and we implement. Would you agree? Yeah. So we are not going to touch about thinking. When we talk about VCTF, it's not about thinking. It's not about the implementation. It's just focusing on the communication process. Because for us, when communication breaks down, no matter how great you're thinking, the implementation will fail. Agree? All right. So that's what we are focusing today. All right. Okay. We're going to do 2 exercises. So today is not about you guys listening. All right. Everybody needs to do 2 exercises today. Okay. So I need everyone to grab a piece of paper. Okay. I'm going to play this video. And what I want all of you to do is take notes. Okay? So take notes from this video. All right. So I'm just going to give you a first-hand experience with VCTF. So when I say take notes, it doesn't matter. You can write down or you want to draw it out. It's up to you. All right. All right. Okay. Let's look at the video.
Visual communication is more important than ever for working professionals. Whether we're delivering external messages to customers or internal presentations to stakeholders, having visually engaging content is key. Here are 6 ways that visual communication can make your messages more successful. 1, it saves time. In a split second, it's easier to process a visual than to read a sentence. Check out this example. Here's the text, and here's the visual. Which one is easier to understand? If you want to quickly get your point across, visuals are the way to go. 2, it promotes consistency. Using the same images, logos, and colors makes it easier for your audience to identify what they're looking at. 3, it provides clarity. With text-heavy content, audiences may use their imagination to picture what we're talking about. That can lead to some unexpected results. A simple visual delivers info in a clear and unified way. 4, it increases retention. 3 days after hearing information, people can only remember 10% of what they've heard. But pair a relevant image with that same information, and retention goes up to 65%. 5, it's universally understood. If you don't speak Swedish, would you understand this traffic alert? How about now? Even if someone can't read a language, they can understand a good visual. And finally, 6, it's more impactful. Most people would rather view images, graphics, and videos versus just listening to words. Visuals stimulate the viewer's emotions, making it easier for them to connect with a message. Our devices, social media, and virtual teams are all fueling the need for visually engaging content. And luckily, the visual tools that help us create and communicate are more accessible than ever. What techniques and tools are you using? Leave a comment below and share ideas that will help your peers boost their visuals. Then head over to LinkedIn Learning and enhance your visual communication skills with our new learning path.
All right, we are done. Okay, everybody got it? Okay. All right, so normally what we would do, we would like to ask you to, snap a shot of what you wrote down, your notes, and share it. All right. So we're not going to do that today, but what this exercise always shows us is that when we start showing what we've written down, I can guarantee you that everyone will have written something different. Would you agree? Do you guys agree? Yes or yes? So this is a situation whereby, let's say the video just now was your boss or your client, or someone giving an instruction. So it could be in a discussion or a meeting or a presentation. So everyone is listening from the same source. but everyone is getting different inputs, correct? So that is the challenge when we are communicating. So with VCTF, we want to enhance and improve the communication part, all right? So now I'm going to share what is VCTF and why VCTF. Yeah. So this is VTF, all right? Before we go to VTF, we understand what is VTF. VTF stands for visualization through freehand. All right, it means it's the ability to visualize ideas and draw it out on any platform. It could be on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, or it could be on your tablet for that matter. Doesn't matter. All right. But the most important thing is all about you having an idea and you can put it on paper effectively. That is VTF. All right. So VCTF is the ability to freehand visualize and communicate the ideas to other people. So if you're looking at the diagram, yeah, you can see that A is doing the VTF. You know, he's putting it on paper. What he sees in his mind, he's putting it on paper. So then he is communicating to B, his ideas. So that is VCTF. See, a lot of people have challenges just doing VTF, putting it on paper. All right, we'll do a demo after this. All right. And the next challenge is you might be able to do it. You know, you might be able to visualize and put it on paper. But the next question is, are you communicating effectively through whatever you drew or written down on your piece of paper? So that is VCTF, visual communication through freehand. Right? That's the difference. So let's give an example. Yeah. For example, all right. So VTF, all right. You look at this picture. He wants to draw a tank, you know, in his mind. So let's say if I ask you guys, can you visualize a tank? When I say tank, what do you see? Do you see the word T-A-N-K or you can see a tank in your mind? I can guarantee you all of us will see a tank in our mind if we see the tank. All right. The challenge is, can you VTF the tank? Meaning, can you visualize through freehand and put it on paper? See, the challenge today, most of us, we cannot do it. The tank looks so different when we put it on paper. Is that correct? So the big impact on this is miscommunication. Because we cannot visualize, we tend to go to text to present our ideas. You know, we rely on text most of the time. So that's why even today, we are a visual society. We communicate. Most of the time, if you notice, we communicate, for example, using WhatsApp. We try to text our way out. You guys do that? You know, we text, and then miscommunication happens. But can you imagine if you start to draw and you accompany your drawings with text? I can guarantee you will communicate more effectively. You know? So that is the power of VCTF. Yeah. So scenario one, miscommunication. All right. You presenting with just text, blah, 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 text, because you don't have the ability to draw, you know, maybe do simple diagrams or to illustrate what you mean, all right? So most of the time, people are going, yeah, you know, you guys understand, you know, if you're doing lectures, if you're lecturing, you know, you just rely on your slides. There are people who, you know, like what I'm doing right now, slide readers, you know. So if you're just doing that, you know, after 2 hours discussion, you know, and then they go out, next week they come back and then they present to you and you get all mad because this is not what you want. You know, does that happen? You know, and then you have to call for other meetings because miscommunication. All right. So how many times does this happen to you in a year? And how many times does it happen in your organization? All right. This is one scenario. You go to a discussion or a meeting and this happens, or a presentation for that matter. Second scenario, it could be you and your boss. You know, your boss calls you in. Okay, this is what I want you to do. Blah, 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 all the instructions. You do this, you do that, you know, and you're trying to process everything and you're putting it on notes, you know, note taking. All right, okay, blah, 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 blah. And then after 2 hours discussion, you're still unclear what your boss wants. Does this happen? All right. Most of the time this happens, you know, and then when you come back, the boss gets angry because it's not what the boss wanted. Right? Because there's miscommunication just by, talking, So with Freehand, you can help bridge that gap. Okay, another scenario. You have an idea, great idea, but you cannot put it on paper. So you try to talk it to your boss. You cannot show it to your boss. So when we can't do that, there's a lot of subjectivity. You guys get what I'm trying to convey here? Because sometimes if you just talk, it's very subjective. But if you're just using diagram, it's also subjective. But if a company, for example, we are talking, we're giving text, we're giving diagrams, or drawings, it will become more objective. All right. So these are some scenarios that happens on a daily basis, in our daily communications with, not necessarily in our office environment. It could be with our friends, our family members. Yeah. So these are things that happens all the time. So what happens? So most of the time we wasted our time. That's the thing. Something could be settled with just one meeting. We end up doing maybe 3-5 meetings on the same thing. We've wasted our energy, we've reduced our performance, reduced our productivity. And this happens all over the world. Big, small organizations, it happens. Yeah? So if you can visit www.shrm.org. Okay? This is a human resource website where they did a survey. So it is reported that companies that employ 100,000 employees loses about 62.4 million a year. Okay? So companies with 100 employees lose about 420,000 a year. That's crazy. Just because of miscommunication. It could be because of, a bad instruction, a bad email, but most of the time it's all about miscommunication. So can you imagine how much you can help your company or your organization to save, if we can cut down on poor communication? So this is the number, this is the figure, so 100 staff, you're losing about 420K. How many of you have 100 staff? So you can prorate this, can make some simple calculations. So if you have 200 staff, it's about 840K, and of course 1,000 staff is 4.2 million. Yeah? So if you have big organizations, if you're having, like ministries of government, with so many staff, you can imagine how much we are losing on a yearly basis. Yeah. So this is another example. All right. So you can search on this, So this is companies in US and UK. Based on miscommunication is USD 37 billion in 2008. That is crazy money. Imagine what we can do with that. Okay, the other thing is regarding ESG. Yeah. So when you have miscommunication, it increases your carbon footprint. Is that correct? Right? Because instead of just doing one meeting, you have to do 3 meetings, 4 meetings, So you end up using more electricity, more resources, more paper. So carbon footprint goes up. So if you have a company that is focusing on ESG, and you want to make your company more environmentally friendly, reduce your carbon footprint, all right? So VCTF is the way to go. Because we can guarantee you will cut down, on your meetings. You will simplify your process. Because the one thing that I want to stress a lot here, our VCTF program, the most powerful part is we help you to simplify your communication. Yeah? Remember just now, it was FVCS, Freehand. You learn the basics, the fundamental. You learn how to visualize. You learn how to create. At the end of our 2-day training program, you learn how to simplify. That's the most important part. That is the most powerful part. Because most of the time, we cannot simplify things. So if you can simplify things, then we have made progress, yeah, in our organizations. All right, next exercise. Everybody ready? Okay. Grab a piece of paper. All right, grab a piece of paper, maybe A4 paper, right, like this. All right, divide it into 2, okay? Right? Divide it into 2. All right, I want you to draw a pot. A pot. Yeah? On your left, draw a pot. Pastu. just a pot, right? Whatever comes to mind, how you visualize a pot, draw a pot. Once you've done your pot, type 1 in the chat box. Okay, fantastic. So is everybody comfortable drawing a pot? Are you good? Yes? If you are comfortable, type Y. No problem. A pot. So easy. I can draw it, in my sleep, right? A pot. Okay. Next, on your right, please draw your dream house. Your dream house. Draw your dream house. Sketch out your dream house. So in Malaysia, most of the time when we ask people to do this, they draw a simple house with 2 windows, 1 door, and a roof. Don't do that. That's not your dream house. Yeah, that's more like a guard house or something. We want your dream house. Draw your dream house. Okay. So as you're drawing, I want to ask you this. How many feel this is more difficult? You're facing challenges. Is it difficult? Okay, Aji raised his hand. What about the others? How do you feel? Before I asked you to draw a pot, no problem, right? You're happy, you're smiling. And then suddenly, wow, dream house, how? Okay, who finds it challenging? Okay, Nora says it's more challenging. Peter says it's difficult. What about the others? What are you feeling? Let me know. Is it tough? Are you finding it difficult to put it on paper? Yeah. Is everybody okay? More challenging. Okay, Hafiza. Okay, thank you. My dream house is more beautiful than I can ever draw. Okay. All right. Okay, here's the thing. Okay. All right. Okay, please take note on this. This is the challenge for most of us. You see, when we ask you to draw a pot, it's easy because we do it from our memory. We remember. We know how a pot looks like, correct? We don't have to create it. It's just a pot. So you draw it out. But when it comes to dream house, it's a challenge, it's a problem because we have to create. You guys agree? You see it in your mind. You see it. Wow, my dream house is going to be like this, like that. But our challenge is we cannot put it on paper. Yeah? So drawing the pot just now is a form of lower order visualization skills, loss. But creating the dream house and putting on paper is higher order visualization skill. So I know everyone here is brilliant. You guys are great thinkers. You have the ability of higher order thinking skills. But what makes us not productive or reduces our productivity is our inability to visualize and put our ideas on paper effectively. Not that I'm saying you cannot, you can, but it is not effective. So based on our trainings, Dr. Uzaimi has trained more than 8,000 people. Don't worry if you cannot draw your dream house. Don't worry when you say, oh, it's so tough, it's so challenging. She has trained more than 8,000 people. Majority can only do 60 to 70% visualization. So what does that mean? When you implement, the outcome will be 60 to 70%. Yeah? All right? So that is the point that we want to bring to you. Okay? So why? Why does this happen? This happens because we are a visual society. We function as a visual society. What's different today is that conversation is visual. As you listen to the video, right, just now, yeah, if you have visual, people get things easily. For example, today, our slides is not just text. We put in visual, we put in the right colors, we put in the right video to make it more engaging so that you understand better. Why? Because that is how we function. We are visual people. We are visual creatures. And if you look today, nowadays, with all the apps, like TikTok, IG, YouTube, and whatnot, people tend to go on videos more. Am I right? People want to see visual more. They're sick and tired of reading just text. So that's why when we communicate, we must have the ability to put it on paper. We have to be able to draw, not just text it out. Then we can become powerful and effective communicators. So if you have the chance, try to read this book, by Dan Rom, Draw to Win. It will give you a different insight on what it means to be in a visual society. Yeah. So you can read this book. It's a very good book. It's a very powerful book. Yeah. All right. So basically, at the end of the day, to function properly, we need these three domains. Number one is the ability to think, to generate ideas, the thinking process. This one, I know everyone here are super brilliant people. You guys can think great, all right? No problem on the thinking process, all right? The hard part is communicating what you are thinking, the ideas, how to share it. Because once you can communicate effectively, then you can implement the ideas. Okay. So if you look at these slides, you look on the right, the top technology trends of 2022. All right, this is by McKinsey and Company. Can you imagine these slides having just text? Would it be effective? Without the visuals? I can guarantee you it will be so much difficult just to absorb. And would it be effective? It would, if it's just visuals. It will be the same problem. And in VCTF, we are going to share with you, why you need text and visual. And this is comprehensive. We're not going to train you to do digital like this. This is comprehensive. What we want to do is instant communication. So we're just sharing you this diagram so that you can see the impact, once you have text and visual. So can you imagine when you're talking to people, let's say you're in a meeting, your boss saying something that you tell your boss, okay, this is what I understand based on your instructions. You put it on paper, you put in some text, and you draw out what you understood. I can tell you. Your boss can see that you understand and you can go out of the meeting room happier. You know why? Because effective communication has happened. And then you want to be safe, you ask your boss, please sign. This is what you want. So that when you come back later, you show your boss, boss, you agree, this is what you want. Yeah. So that is what we are going to focus on when we do the VCTF training. Yeah. So this is what will happen, if you are communicating without VCTF, let's say you're presenting text, or just slide, you look down there. You got your idea, the thinking process, but you are not communicating effectively. The implementation, the output. Look, can you see, we are using visual to show the idea. For a less effective group, the output will be small. But if you look, communication with VCTF, you incorporate visual, diagrams, drawing, people become more interested. This is interesting. You look at the output. Guys, can you see the diagram below? This is just simple drawing, but is it powerful? It's a complex idea, all right? Something complex to explain verbally if I'm just talking, but when you look at the diagram, you immediately understand, correct? You can see the output. It becomes so powerful. So this will produce dynamic results, increase productivity. So that is the idea of VCTF. Yeah. Okay. So do you know? This one I'm just emphasizing again. We will lose 100 million in 3 years if we do not try to resolve miscommunication in our organization. That is a fact. 100 million. So why do we do this statement? How can we prove it? Okay. Let's do another exercise. Sorry guys, I got 3 exercises for you. I promise you this is the last one for today. All right. Okay, everybody, grab a piece of paper. All right. I want you to draw out this. Just imagine that I'm your boss. So I'm telling you guys, okay, all right, about John. So I want you to draw John based on this description. All right. So let's say this is a report or a written statement or your boss giving instruction. All right. So are you ready? Okay. So number 1, John has a round face. Number 2, John has a sharp nose. Number 3, John has bushy eyebrows. Number 4, John has slit eyes. Number 5, John has straight hair. Number 6, John has a long and white ears. And number 7, John has a wide mouth. So I'm giving you guys about 1 to 2 minutes to come out with John. So that is the instruction. All right, good job, everyone. If you were physically, then we could high five everybody for a good job. All right, so just imagine this instruction came from your boss or from your client, or you're listening it from a meeting or discussion, or you're watching a video. All right, so you have to come out with a John. Okay, so everybody got their John, right? Everybody done? Okay, guys, this is the John that I want. Over 100. Okay? Out of 100, put in the percentage when you look at your John and the John that I want. Is it 100% or how much? You evaluate, do a self-evaluation. What is your percentage? The John that you drew and the John that we want. So I'll just do a quick calculation, I'll average it out. It's more in the range of maybe 60% like that. Correct? All right. So can you imagine you're getting this instruction from your boss and you're coming back with your drawing? Let's say if you are only at 60% like that, would your boss be upset? Or let's say your client, gave the instruction and you come back with this drawing, and would your client be upset? What do you guys think? How many would have loved, why didn't you show us the picture earlier? Then it would be easier. Would that be better? You gave the instruction and show the John picture. Would that be better? How many think like that? If you agree with me, say yes. It would be better if, you gave the instruction and show the John that you want. Correct. In most cases, bosses give instruction, or we give instruction, or we receive instruction, but we fail to visualize on paper. Can you imagine if you ask your boss, can you draw it a bit so that I understand? Or you draw it and show to the boss, is this what you want? So that is the idea of VCTF. That is the ability to visualize through freehand and put it on paper. And we are emphasizing instant communication, guys. This is not comprehensive because we don't have time. Let's say you go see your boss say, okay, show me what you understand. You cannot tell your boss, wait, I go and do a slide. We don't have time. You need to have the ability to be able to put on paper, boss, is this what you want? All right. So when you look at this, it's 60-70%. So we are making losses around 30 to 40%. Correct? Every time we communicate based on the figures that you are sharing with us. Right? So that is where the companies make all the losses. So I hope you get a better understanding on what our training is all about. Yeah. So this is what happens. All right. So when we miscommunicate, we tend to conduct more meetings. Yeah. So this involves costs. Of course, number one is time, and then energy, more electricity, and then resources, paper, and then maybe other matters. For example, emotional matters. For example, you had one meeting, you're supposed to settle it. And then on that day, you promise your son to celebrate birthday together. And then suddenly boss says, this is not what I want, you have to stay back. So you have to call your son, sorry, that can't make it for your birthday. What's going to happen? I tell you, the emotional cost, wow, is crazy. You can never calculate the value. Yeah? But it happens. People get stressed out all because of simple miscommunication. Yeah? So when you have good communication, effective communication, you're communicating good already. You're doing great already. But we can guarantee you with VCTF, you can do amazing. You can do wonders. Right? You can cut down on your meetings. You can save on time, energy, and whatnot. And, your productivity will just increase. Yeah. So what are we proposing? So we are proposing a 2-day training program. So we will focus on the VCTF model. On the first day, we will focus on FVC, fundamental, visualization, and how to create. And then on day 2 is all about application, how to simplify. So our courses, our training program is 20 to 30% theory, 70 to 80% practical. I can guarantee you nobody will fall asleep. Nobody. We will push you to the limit. We will push you to the max. You will be challenged on how you can communicate effectively. And at the same time, you are going to have so much fun. And we hope that you can bring this and create a culture in your organization. with the VCTF modules that we will be sharing, inshallah. Yeah. All right. So that is basically it from me. All right. So hopefully you have a better idea what is VCTF.